You think your life is normal, but it's not. It's designed. Every habit you have, every pattern you repeat, every delay you justify, it didn't just happen. It was built, slowly, quietly, without you even noticing. And the most dangerous part is that it feels like you. It feels like your personality, your choices, your way of living. But what if I told you that most of what you call yourself is just conditioning? Think about it. You wake up at a time you didn't choose. You follow routines you didn't design. You think thoughts you never questioned. You react in ways that feel automatic. And then you call that your life. But it's not. It's a system that rewards predictability, a system that punishes deviation, a system that trains you to stay within limits, because average people are easier to control. They don't question, they don't disrupt, they don't change direction suddenly. They follow patterns, and patterns are predictable, and predictable people are controllable people. That's why, from a very early age, you are taught to slow down, to wait your turn, to ask for permission, to not take risks, to not stand out too much, to stay safe. But safe is just another word for limited, because safety kills growth, kills speed, kills potential, and over time, you stop even noticing it. You start believing that this is just how life is, that success is rare, that progress is slow, that big change takes years. But that's not truth. That's programming. Because once you accept slow, you stop pushing for fast. Once you accept average, you stop chasing exceptional. Once you accept limits, you stop testing them. And that's exactly where the system wins. Not by forcing you, but by convincing you. Convincing you that this is normal, that this is realistic, that this is enough. But deep down, you feel it. That discomfort, that pressure, that voice telling you, there's more potential, more speed, more life than this. But you ignore it, because acting on it feels risky, feels uncertain, feels uncomfortable, and your brain is trained to avoid that. So you stay where you are, not because you have to, but because it feels easier. And that's how the system holds you, not with force, but with comfort, because comfort is the strongest trap there is. It doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like relief. It feels like safety, but it's not. It's stagnation. It's slow decay. It's life at a lower level. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to leave. Because now, it's not just your environment, it's your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who plays safe, who waits, who hesitates, who delays. And once that identity is set, everything in your life follows it. But here's the truth. You were not built for average. You were trained into it, and anything you were trained into can be broken. But it requires one thing: awareness, real awareness, not surface level, not, I know this already, but deep, uncomfortable, undeniable awareness, the kind that forces you to see what you've been ignoring. To see how much time you've wasted, to see how much potential you've suppressed, to see how much you've been playing small. Because once you truly see it, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you can't stay the same. And once you reach that point, something shifts. You stop blaming, you stop waiting, you stop telling yourself, this is just how life is. Because now you see it, clearly. The patterns, the repetition, the invisible structure, that has been guiding your life. You start noticing how often you hesitate, how often you delay, how often you choose comfort instead of growth. And at first, that realization is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion that you were doing your best, the illusion that you had no choice, the illusion that things were out of your control. But now, you see the truth. You had control. You just didn't use it. And that realization hits hard because it means everything could have been different. Your results, your progress, your life. But this is where most people break, not because they can't change, but because they don't want to face that truth. They go back to comfort, back to distraction, back to the same patterns. Because awareness, without action, is painful. It creates tension, a gap between what you see and what you're doing. And most people avoid that tension. They numb it. With entertainment, with scrolling, with noise, anything, to not feel it. But you can't grow and stay comfortable at the same time. You have to choose. And that choice is where everything changes. Because now, it's no longer about knowledge. You already know. It's about execution, about what you do. In the moments that matter, not the big ones, not the dramatic ones, the small ones, the everyday ones, the moments where you hesitate or act, the moments where you delay or move, the moments where you follow the pattern or break it. That's where your life is decided, not in one big decision, but in thousands of small ones, repeated daily, and the system knows this. That's why it doesn't need to stop you completely. It just needs to slow you down, just enough to keep you average, to keep you comfortable, to keep you predictable. Because speed is dangerous. Speed breaks patterns. Speed creates momentum. Speed changes direction. And once you move fast, you become hard to control. That's why hesitation is so common. It's built into your behavior, into your thinking, into your reactions. You pause when you should move. You think when you should act. You wait when you should decide. And those small pauses destroy momentum. They break flow. They create doubt. And doubt slows everything down. That's how people stay stuck, not because they can't move, but because they move too slowly, they think too much, they hesitate too often, they delay too long, and over time, that becomes their reality, a slower life, a smaller life, a predictable life. But the moment you see it, you have a choice to continue or to break it, and breaking it is not complicated. It's uncomfortable, but simple. You act faster. You think less. You move before doubt takes over. You interrupt the pattern in real time. Not later, not tomorrow, now. Because the moment you delay, the system pulls you back into comfort, into habit, into the same version of your life. But if you move immediately, you create something different, a break, a shift, a new direction. And that's how change starts, not gradually, but instantly, in a single decision, to not be the same anymore. And once you make that decision, everything becomes clear, not easier, but clearer, because now you know what needs to be done. And more importantly, you know that you have to do it. And this is where everything becomes real, not theory, not ideas, not motivation, reality. Because now, you see exactly what's happening. You see the patterns, you see the delays, you see how your life has been shaped by what you chose and what you avoided. And once you see that, you can't go back. You can't pretend anymore. You can't say, I didn't know, because now you do. And that creates pressure, real pressure, the kind that forces a decision. Not tomorrow, not later, now. You either continue living the same patterns, repeating the same behaviors, getting the same results, or you break it right here, right now. And breaking it doesn't require a perfect plan. It doesn't require full clarity. It doesn't require confidence. It requires one thing: action, immediate action. Because speed is what separates change from delay. If you wait, you fall back. If you hesitate, you lose momentum. If you think too long, you return to the same version of yourself. That's how strong patterns are. They don't need to stop you. They just need to slow you down. And if you let them, they will. Every time. That's why this moment matters. This exact moment. Not when the video ends. Not when you feel inspired. Now. Because this is where the decision happens. Not in your head, in your actions. What you do next defines everything. Not what you think. Not what you plan. What you do. And most people will do nothing. They will watch this, agree with it, feel something, and then go back to the same life, the same habits, the same delays. Because change requires discomfort, and most people avoid it. But you don't have to. You can choose differently, right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now you can act, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if it feels uncomfortable, because that's where the shift begins. Not in perfection, but in movement. And once you move, something changes inside you. You stop seeing yourself as someone who waits. You stop identifying with hesitation. You stop playing small, because now you've broken the pattern. And once a pattern is broken, it loses power. And once it loses power, you gain it. That's how this works. Not slowly, not gradually, but instantly, in a decision. To not be the same anymore. And that decision is available to you. Right now. Not later. Not someday. Now. Because this moment is the only moment you actually control. Everything else is either past or imagined. But this is real. And what you do with it defines your direction. So stop waiting. Stop delaying. Stop telling yourself there's time, because there isn't. There is only now. And now is where everything changes if you decide to move.